The symbolic decorum of the underworld. To read mythology like a true professional, we must abandon literal interpretations immediately. The underworld is not a geographical place beneath the earth. The curse of toxic empathy. The forbidden meaning of Psyche's fourth task of toxic empathy. You have been conditioned to believe that your empathy is your greatest virtue. You have been told by society, by culture, and by conventional morality that the act of constantly helping others, of feeling their pain, and of sacrificing your own peace to fix their lives is the ultimate proof of a good soul. That is the most dangerous psychological lie ever told to humanity. The ancient Greeks understood that raw, unguided empathy is not a virtue. It is a sophisticated mechanism of self-sabotage that the unconscious uses to keep you trapped in an emotional hell. In the absolute depth of Greek mythology, hidden within the terrifying fourth task imposed on Psyche, lies a law of psychological survival that modern society has completely forgotten. To achieve her final transformation, Psyche is commanded to descend alive into the kingdom of the dead, the terrifying realm of Hades. But the real danger of this journey is not the monsters, the demons, or the darkness of the underworld. The true test consists of a strict, unyielding, and seemingly cruel prohibition. She must absolutely ignore 3 desperate pleas for help from lost souls during her descent. The instructions are clear. If she stops to show pity, if she reaches out her hand to save a single suffering entity, she will lose her mind and remain trapped in the abyss forever. This video is not an entertainment piece about ancient lore. This is a cold, clinical dissection of your own mind. If you are someone who constantly feels drained by the problems of others, if you are chronically unable to say no, and if you feel an overwhelming guilt whenever you prioritize your own sanity, you are currently living through Psyche's fourth task without understanding its rules. Pay absolute attention to every paragraph of this script, because the hidden meaning behind these 3 specific cries for help will reveal the exact reason why your kindness has become your ultimate prison. The symbolic decorum of the underworld. To read mythology like a true professional, we must abandon literal interpretations immediately. The underworld is not a geographical place beneath the earth. It is the grand, vast, and silent ocean of the collective unconscious. It is the repository of all repressed traumas, ancestral debts, and the unintegrated shadows of humanity. When Aphrodite demands that Psyche descend into this abyss to retrieve a box containing a fragment of Persephone's divine beauty, she is forcing the human soul to confront its deepest layers. The journey down is a path of absolute isolation, where the false identity of the ego must be systematically dismantled. As Psyche walks the dark paths of the dead, she is confronted by 3 distinct manifestations of intense suffering. First, she encounters a lame driver sitting by a donkey that is heavily overloaded with wood. The man desperately begs Psyche to help him gather the fallen twigs to balance the load. Second, as she crosses the stagnant, foul river of the dead in Charon's Ferry, a decaying, drowning corpse surfaces from the water, stretching its rotting hands toward the boat, weeping and pleading to be pulled aboard. Third, further into the gloom, she sees elderly women weaving the intricate threads of destiny, their fingers bleeding, crying out for her to join them and assist in their endless, agonizing labor. Every single one of these encounters is engineered to trigger a visceral, automatic response of pity. Every moral instinct within the human soul screams at Psyche to stop, to comfort, and to help. Yet, the warning she received before her descent was absolute. Pass them by in total silence, show no emotion, and offer no assistance. In the symbolic syntax of the Greeks, these three souls are the personification of the emotional traps that await anyone who attempts to navigate the depths of self-knowledge. They represent the collective pain of the world that seeks to colonize your personal consciousness before you have established your own sovereignty. The psychological anatomy of the savior complex. From the perspective of depth psychology, the prohibition of helping these three souls exposes the dark underbelly of what modern therapy calls the savior complex and compulsive people-pleasing. When you look closely at your pathological need to fix other people's lives, you realize it does not stem from pure altruism. It stems from a profound, unconscious fear of rejection and an inability to tolerate your own internal emptiness. The ego uses the act of saving others as a shield to avoid the terrifying task of looking at its own shadow. By focusing entirely on the chaos of the outside world, you successfully manipulate yourself into ignoring the unhealed wounds within your own psyche. The three lost souls that Psyche encounters are the exact psychological projections of this internal manipulation. The lame driver with the overloaded donkey represents the burden of false responsibility. It is the weight of duties, expectations, and problems that do not belong to you. Yet you continuously choose to carry them out of a misplaced sense of guilt. The drowning man in the river of death represents the emotional quicksand of codependent relationships. This is the ultimate warning against trying to save individuals who are fundamentally committed to their own destruction. In psychology, we know that if you reach out to pull up someone who refuses to swim, they will invariably drag you down into the abyss with them. The third projection, the weaving women who cry out for help, represents the crushing weight of ancestral trauma and societal programming. These are the internalized voices of your family lineage and cultural expectations that demand your constant, exhausting labor to fulfill profiles that are not yours. When you fail to establish strict, unyielding boundaries against these three forces, your psyche depth collapses into acute emotional burnout. The unconscious mind is entirely natural and balanced. It does not reward compliance, and it does not respect a weak ego that allows its territory to be invaded. The psychological punishment for toxic empathy is the total loss of your personal life force. The philosophical reorientation as a path of life. When we elevate this psychological understanding to a philosophical level, Psyche's refusal to help the dead ceases to look like cruelty and begins to reveal itself as the highest form of spiritual wisdom. True goodness requires the strength, the courage, and the maturity to be perceived as cruel by an infantile and demanding world. The path of individuation, which is the ultimate goal of human existence, demands that you realize you cannot save everyone. You are not the savior of the universe, and attempting to act like one is a profound expression of neurotic arrogance. Psyche's silent passage through the cries of the underworld marks the exact moment she undergoes a monumental transformation. By refusing to comply with the manipulative demands of toxic empathy, she effectively kills her fragile, naive, and dependent identity. She ceases to be the innocent girl who seeks validation through compliance, and she prepares herself to become the sovereign queen of the underworld. Boundaries are not defensive walls built out of hatred. They are the sacred architecture of the soul. They define where you end and where the rest of the world begins. Without these clear boundaries, you do not possess an authentic identity. You merely possess a chaotic territory open to endless emotional colonization. To master your dark psyche and achieve the final alchemical integration, you must learn the sacred art of selective detachment. You must cultivate the philosophical fortitude to let certain things die. You must survive the intense, burning guilt that arises when you choose your own sanity over the continuous comfort of others. This is the profound reorientation that mythology offers as a path of life. Your primary ethical duty is not to fix the collective chaos of the world, but to achieve your own psychological wholeness. Only when you have successfully refused to be consumed by the underworld can you return to the light of consciousness with the true power to create, to heal, and to love without conditions.